Dead Man's Cove was supposed to be a hidden paradise. Tucked away along the rugged Oregon coastline, it was a place only locals knew about, a secluded stretch of sand beneath towering cliffs, with waves crashing violently against the rocks. But beneath its beauty, there was something else. Something wrong. For decades, stories had swirled around the cove. People spoke in hushed tones about strange whispers in the wind, of boats that disappeared without a trace, of footsteps in sand that led to the water, but never came back. No one could explain it, and those who tried to uncover the truth, they never made it out. But no warning was strong enough to stop Daniel Carter, a thrill-seeking travel vlogger who chased urban legends and haunted locations across the U.S. His channel had been struggling, and he needed something big, something terrifying to go viral. So when he read about Dead Man's Cove, he knew it was perfect. He had no idea what he was walking into. A trip to nowhere. Daniel arrived in the small coastal town of Seabrook, Oregon, just before sunset. The air was thick with the smell of salt and seaweed, and the distant sound of waves crashing against the shore sent a chill down his spine. At a run-down diner near the edge of town, he pulled out his camera and started recording. "All right, guys, we made it. Dead Man's Cove. The beach where people vanish, and no one knows why. Tonight, we're going to find out." The old man behind the counter froze. His weathered face paled as he turned toward Daniel. "You shouldn't go down there," he muttered. "That place ain't right." Daniel smirked, playing it up for the camera. "Why? You think I'll disappear too?" The man didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned in, his voice a whisper. "They don't just disappear. The sea takes them. It calls them by name." A cold knot twisted in Daniel's stomach, but he ignored it. The descent into darkness. The trail leading down to the cove was steep, narrow, and covered in mist. The further Daniel walked, the quieter everything became. The distant sounds of town faded, replaced by something else. A low hum. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the waves. It was voices. Whispering. Calling. He stopped, turned on his flashlight. The beach stretched before him, covered in fog. The tide was low, revealing jagged rocks that jutted out from the sand like broken teeth. His camera picked up strange patterns in the sand, spirals, and symbols he'd never seen before. And then he noticed something else. Footprints. Fresh. Leading straight to the water. His breath caught. Someone had been here. Recently. But where were they? The vanishing. As the night deepened, the ocean grew restless. Waves crashed harder, the wind howled through the cliffs like a dying scream. Daniel set up his tent, ignoring the unease crawling up his spine. He'd done this before. Haunted houses. Abandoned asylums. He knew how to play up the fear for the camera. But this was different. Hours passed. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of salt and something rotting. His flashlight flickered. His camera glitched. Then, a sound. A gurgling. Like someone choking. Daniel spun around, heart pounding. His lights scanned the beach, empty. But the sound, it was coming from the water. And then he saw it. A figure standing at the shoreline. Pale. Motionless. Dripping wet. His breath hitched. Who's there? No answer. He stepped closer, camera shaking in his hands. The figure's head twitched. Then its eyes snapped open. They were black. Completely black. And suddenly, the whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were screams. Dragged beneath. The ocean erupted. Something huge, dark, and impossible surged up from the depths. Tentacles, arms, hands. They clawed at the shore, reaching for him. Daniel ran, faster than he'd ever run before. His tent, his gear? Forget it. But the beach was gone. The footprints, gone. The path, gone. The ocean was all around him now, swallowing the land, swallowing the sky. And the last thing his camera recorded was a hand, pale, rotting, clawing up from the sand. The final broadcast. The next morning, the locals found Daniel's camera washed up on the rocks. The footage, corrupted. The audio, scrambled. But one clip remained intact. A single frame. A wide-open mouth screaming beneath the waves. And the faintest whisper on the wind. He's one of us now. Blackwood Forest had always been a place of whispers. A stretch of dense, towering trees in upstate New York, it was avoided by locals after dark. Some said it was cursed, others claimed people had gone in and never come out. But there was no proof, just old stories. That was until October 17, 2019, when three friends, Mark, Olivia, and James, ventured into the forest for a weekend camping trip. They never returned. A massive search operation was launched, but the only thing authorities found was their abandoned tent, ripped open from the inside. There was no sign of a struggle, no footprints leading away. Just an eerie silence hanging over the woods. Weeks passed, then months. The case turned cold. But in 2021, a hiker stumbled upon something deep in Blackwood, a camera, half buried in the dirt. The footage inside, it changed everything. The footage begins. The recovered camera belonged to Mark. The first few clips showed nothing unusual, just three friends laughing, setting up camp, roasting marshmallows over a fire. They joked about the forest's haunted reputation, brushing off the warnings. Then, at 2:37 a.m., the footage took a turn. A distant thudding sound echoed through the trees. Not an animal, not the wind, something heavy, rhythmic. Mark's voice whispered, "Do you hear that?" James groaned, "It's probably a deer. Go back to sleep." But Olivia wasn't so sure. She grabbed a flashlight and stepped out of the tent. The light flickered. The forest around her was unnaturally still. Not a single insect chirped, not a leaf rustled. Then, from behind the trees, a shape moved. The shadow in the trees. The footage turned shaky as Olivia gasped, pointing the camera toward the darkness. A tall, distorted figure stood between the trees. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just watched. James stepped out of the tent, groggy. "Liv, what the hell are you doing?" She turned to him, shaking. "Someone's out there." By the time she turned back, the figure was gone. A gust of icy wind rushed through the campsite, strong enough to snuff out their fire. Their breaths became visible in the freezing air. Then, something clicked in the distance. A sound like bone snapping. Mark whispered, "We should go back inside." But the second they zipped up the tent, a blood-curdling scream tore through the forest. Not human, not animal, something wrong. Dragged into the dark, the footage cut to chaos. Heavy breathing, the sound of branches snapping under hurried footsteps. Mark was running, the camera swinging wildly. James is gone. Olivia cried. Something took him. They ran blindly through the trees, the flashlight barely cutting through the suffocating darkness. But no matter how far they ran, the thudding never stopped. Like something massive was following them, just beyond the reach of the light. Then Olivia screamed. The camera spun wildly before hitting the ground. For a brief moment, the lens caught it. A hand, rotting, twisted, clawing out from beneath the forest floor. Then the screen went black. The final recording. The last clip on the camera was only 6 seconds long. The screen flickered. Olivia's face filled the frame, dirt smeared across her skin, eyes wide with pure terror. "It's not just the trees," she whispered. "It's beneath us." Then, a sudden yank. A horrifying gurgling sound. The camera toppled into the dirt, still recording as her body was dragged into the ground. And then, silence. They were never found. The police dismissed the footage as a hoax. No evidence of bodies. No sign of struggle. But the search party who retrieved the camera reported something disturbing. The ground where the footage ended. It looked freshly disturbed. Like something had been buried there. Or worse, like something had crawled out.